She loved it so much. Alice Dale, shout out to you. Thank you so much, Alice Dale. She's amazing. She loved it so much of me just showing my personality, because she said a lot of people send clips of their podcast, but I was standing there talking about it with my personality. So she literally called me 2 days later on the 2nd of January 2023 and said, girl, this is your year. I want you on the show tonight at 9 p.m. And I was like so flabbergasted. I was like expecting an email, like I said. And then I just made sure I got ready. I did my hair, I did my makeup, I did my eyebrows, I got an outfit. I did everything in the space of 5 hours, 7 hours, and went down to the studio. And yeah, they interviewed about me, a bit about my show.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking after yourselves. As you can see, we're back with another episode of The Student Guide. And we're in a different place. We like to shake things up every once in a while, bring new guest speakers on and bring you to new places. And we've got an amazing guest speaker here today. But as you guys know, I will never do introductions to our guest speakers justice. The only ones that can do that are our guest speakers. So I'm going to hand over to our guest speaker for today. Could you please tell us a bit about you and what you do?
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. I'm Aridja, also known as Aridja Kals. I am a speaker. I am a presenter, events host, a podcaster. Trying to dibble-dabble into modeling now, so that would be great. So yeah, I just do all that. I'm a communicator. I'm a journalist through and through. I love to tell stories, whether it's through conversations or narrative or anything really. So audio production, and yeah, that's about it really.
No, that's perfect. And yeah, as I'm sure our audience will know, from your introduction, you're a multi-talented person, and it kind of fits into sort of like what we're going to be talking about today, because the title of today's episode is The Student Guide on the Power of Passion and Persistence. And I think from your introduction, it's clear that you're the best guest speaker to speak about that. So yeah, I'm sure people who have been here from the start, because we're currently on season 5, they'll know that our first episode was all about sort of following your passion in a difficult world. And the host of that episode, Samuel, who's on the team, he was saying that, the whole point of the episode was that, especially when it comes to whether it's your family or your friends or even like the way you perceive yourself, there's always this sort of feeling that you can't follow your passion. You can't do your passion as your career. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I think that's sort of like the best place to start because, as you mentioned, you're a podcaster. And it's kind of funny because our last episode was with a podcaster. But yeah, we want to know more about, I guess, let's start off with the first question, which is, could you tell us a bit more about your podcast? And then we'll sort of dive into a bit more later on.
Sure. So my podcast is called sorry. My podcast is called The Aridja Kals Show. So it's essentially my name. I'm not egotistical, guys. It's just called The Aridja Kals Show. So essentially, I speak to emerging creatives and entrepreneurs and talent. It's all to do about them and their story. And the whole point of knowing about their story, their achievements, their failures, their, how they come back against certain things and, their opinions on mental health. The reason why I talk about their story is so that the audience can see that if this person essentially looks like you, comes from the same background as you, or you can relate to them in certain ways and they're staying consistent in their dreams, surely you can do the same. Because I always end with a motivational message at the end saying that, look, life is far too short not to pick up that camera, that mic, whatever it is, that pen, and just start with your journey of creativity and entrepreneurship. So the message is for the audience through the guest, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because I think that's what's powerful. Because like you said, it's this like literally like what I was talking before. There's always this thing of like, oh, I can't get into podcasting, or music production, or becoming a DJ or whatever because you'll feel like, oh, I'm not skilled enough, or oh, it's not what's accepted in my culture, or oh, I need a more stable career, something that's going to bring in more money in the long run. And it's just like, no, like we said, like you can start at any point, whether you are you're 15 and you're sort of just doing your GCSEs, or you are a 60-year-old and you're just basically, you want to do a career change. You're never too young to start. And I feel like we said, that's a powerful thing to have, to be able to be like, I can do, and I can sort of like go into my passion, or I can go into anything and do it like that. And yeah, your podcast sounds powerful. Your podcast sounds powerful.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And also you can find it on Spotify and YouTube.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. And we'll be including the links down below. So yeah, make sure you check it out. But I think, yeah, let's go on to the next question, because we've sort of unintentionally made we've made, especially all the episodes we've been doing from the student guide this year, a lot about sort of talking about like where successes have turned, like from a failure, has turned into a success. So a failure, something might have happened. You'll feel like at the time, okay, this was like the worst thing ever. Oh, this really sucked. But then out of it came a huge success that you sort of never could imagine. So yeah, I guess we'd like to ask you that. Is there a moment in your life that you've sort of had and you've been like, wow, this is like, at the moment, it was the worst thing ever, or it sucked. But then after you're just like, wow, this actually turned out to be a great, like it aligned me for something even more better.
Definitely. Was it October last year? No, I think October, November. I think it was November last year. No, actually, sorry, it was December last year. So when school broke out for Christmas half term, because I obviously work at a school, I used to work full time. And then I started my podcast 2 months prior to that. And I thought, if I stay in this job, then, nothing against schools or anything, but it's just like if I stay in full-time employment in general, then my podcast is not going to go anywhere, because I'm not going to have my full focus attention on what I'm doing. And I'm a true believer in whatever you put your focus on, it grows. So I did make the brave decision to quit full-time employment. Now I still work like roughly 1 or 2 days a week max, just to fund what I'm doing and stuff. But I made the brave decision to quit. And after I quit, something did great come out of it, because 2 weeks later, the BBC called me into the studio, to talk about my podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been to the BBC twice now doing that. So with the amazing Alice Dale and Eddie Nestor, the legend. So it's been amazing. It's been a whirlwind so far. I've gotten so many opportunities. Like my schedule is like almost fully booked. Like honestly, just speaking gigs, I'm hosting gigs, people wanting me to present, great things like award shows and stuff like that. So it's just been absolutely amazing. And that just goes to show that sometimes when you do take a big leap, it doesn't necessarily have to be quitting your job if that's not, feasible for you. But if you do take a big leap and a big risk, reward definitely does come after that. So there is a big truth in the saying, with risk comes reward. So yeah, it's amazing what can happen when you truly take the leap. So I think that's what I'd say has happened in my life.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And I think that's so true. We might include a video or a link to it at least, or we might be able to play it as I'm talking now. But like you were saying, like at Brunel, some students might know, I've spoken about it before, that there's a yearly event called the Venture Crawl, where sort of you go around to different entrepreneurial spaces and learn about them. And like we were saying about like taking opportunities, we basically ended up in Red Bull, in the office in London, and the person who was supposed to speak there they weren't available to do it anymore. They were unwell, and then there was all the tube strikes as well, so literally nothing could sort of happen. And then I was sort of speaking to the person organizing it, and I was just like, okay, so what we're going to do at Red Bull? And she was just like, oh, well, we have a lot of time. We'll just probably let people just like relax and eat food and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, well. And then she made a joke like, oh, if you want to talk about like podcasting and content creation, you can. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like let's go for it.
That.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of links to what you're saying of like going for it. And I think, like you said, whether that means you have to move towards part-time work, whether that means you have to move towards like expanding your team, so building up a team so you can have someone who can focus on the project or the business even more than you can, because like you said, like even though like I said, I'd love to pick up the mic full time. I still need to pay for things. So yeah, not there yet, but soon. But yeah, it's all about having those spaces where you can do, like, you can have like, time to work on your projects or your passions.
Did you end up collaborating with Red Bull? Or?
No, yeah. I mean, I've been saying I'm going to get in touch with them. Okay. Hopefully the email will be going out today. But but even
I'll keep you accountable.
Oh, thank you. But even like the event itself was really impactful, because there were people there that I met that for example, Pick Up the Mic, we recently announced. I keep saying recently, but like it's coming up to it's coming up to at least a month that I announced it, that we wanted to do, or we started, sorry, a consultation service.
Oh, nice.
And like, it was interesting because at the event there was someone who was just like, oh, well, actually, I want to start a podcast at my university. And I was like, well, hey, if you want to get in touch,
What
let
are
me
the
know.
odds?
Exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, you can't just, I guess there's an opportunity to be made in like anything. So even like, for example, like this episode, like it was only by chance that I saw the Roundhouse talk with ZZ Mills, and I was like, cool, let me go. It's at the Roundhouse. It's not too far from
It
me.
was so good, by the way.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
And I definitely recommend, if you don't mind, well, if you live in Camden, you should definitely go. If you don't mind traveling to Camden, then definitely go, because it's a really good experience. So not only to like hear from creatives, but also like to learn about other people creatives. So literally, like, this conversation is happening because of that. We were both there. We sort of both, like, I heard when you mentioned that you had a podcast, I was like, well, great. Like, let's get on, pick up the mic. But yeah, I think that's the key thing. And I think, like you said, it's about getting these opportunities, like going out there, trying new things, like being confident with that. And yeah, each episode, these guys know, we do something called Mic Check, where we talk about like an interesting fact or figure or story related to the episode. And yeah, I think that would have to be my mic check. It's just it's not really, like I said, it's not a statistic. And I've already said the story, but it's about like trying new things, like being okay with getting out of your comfort zone a little.
That is so key.
Yeah, it's honestly is.
It's essential for growth. I feel like if you box yourself in and don't do things that scare you, then you're essentially never going to grow. Mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. So it's really important to do things that scare you. And even if people around you are like, what you think, what you thinking, why you going to do that sort of thing, and questioning and doubting it, you should still just go for it and do it. Because like the worst thing is to live with regret. So.
Honestly, that's so true. And I think, yeah, but before we go on to the next question, I think literally we said just there, just links to something that Steve Harvey said that sort of stuck with me. And he was just like, and again, I don't mean to insult anyone when I say this, but he was saying that sometimes when you tell other people about like your dreams or your passions, sometimes like people just won't get it. Like you might be like, okay, I want to, I don't know, like start up a company, and I want it's going to be like a fashion company. We're going to do all these cool things, and it's about sustainability and stuff like that. And you might like go to your family, you might go to friends, and they'll just be like, well, this isn't that good. Or like, oh, like stuff like this already exists. Or, oh, it's like interesting as like a side hustle, but as a business, oh gosh, that's so risky. And he was saying like, no, like he was just saying sometimes you just need to like keep your mouth quiet and just keep it to you, and just like work hard yourself. And then, I think it's kind of like what you said, like the whole thing about consistency. And I know at the ZZ Mills event, that was one of the things that I spoke to her mother about, because I was just like, okay, you're a black mom, you know, as I'm sure, well, I'm speaking as an African myself or as a Nigerian myself, I know that sometimes, that it's better to have a more stable career. So for example, whether it's, like your typical like doctor or engineer or things like that, and things like this are considered more of like a side hustle. But I was just like I asked her like, oh, Zizi's done like a lot of stuff. She's done loads of interviews. She's interviewed loads of people. She's held like big events. But how did you feel like when she was starting? And she was saying like the most important thing was the consistency. So she was just like, I knew that she was very passionate about it from the start, but what really showed it was the consistency. And I think it's just like sometimes you might not be able to, even if you do tell family or you've already told family and friends and they don't necessarily believe in it, just be consistent. Go out there, just keep doing it. If you're like creating fashion designs, then have one to show. It doesn't need to be like an every week thing or like you have to force yourself to do it. But it's in a case of like doing it regularly so people will see, okay, like it's not actually just like a passion project or just like a side thing. It's actually something that they're working on alongside their full-time job.
I always say consistency over intensity. I believe in the compound effect. I believe that the 1% that you do every single day adds up to 365% better in the year. Yeah. And that's a significant difference. Yeah. I was just going to ask you, should we check?
Yeah, let me quickly check
because I think I saw a flash. I knew it. That's why I stopped you. Yeah, it's all right. You started it. It's all right. Yeah.
The fun of recording stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess now you know, if you see me get up, it's not because I'm not enjoying the conversation, it's because I need to keep an eye on the camera. But yeah, we're gonna go on to the next question, which I think is a big one. Because as you mentioned, you've been featured. Oh, you've even worked with, I should say, the BBC. And that's a huge thing. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, could we know a bit more about that? Because
I haven't actually worked for them yet. I would love the opportunity if you're listening.
If you're listening, you heard it here first.
But I was featured on there because I remember I was trying to get my podcast commissioned by a large organization like Spotify or BBC, and I was just trying to put a pitch out there, and then I stumbled across BBC Upload on Google search via Facebook. Well, Facebook via Google search. And then I read it and it said, upload whatever artistry that you have and, we'll email you to like be featured on the BBC. So I did it. And then 2 days later, I was expecting an email, right? So I uploaded myself talking a bit about my podcast, which you can find on my Instagram at the Aridja Kals Show. So she loved it so much. Alice Dale, shout out to you. Thank you so much, Alice Dale. She's amazing. She loved it so much of me just showing my personality, because she said a lot of people send clips of their podcast, but I was standing there talking about it with my personality. So she literally called me 2 days later on the 2nd of January, 2023, and said, girl, this is your year. I want you on the show tonight at 9 p.m. And I was like so flabbergasted. I was like expecting an email, like I said. And then I just made sure I got ready. I did my hair, I did my makeup, I did my eyebrows, I got an outfit. I did everything in the space of 5 hours, 7 hours, and went down to the studio. And they interviewed a bit about my show. It was a quick, I think it was a 10-minute interview or something like that. But it was just so amazing. The vibe in the room, I got my cousin there to record it, because obviously I'm a content creator as well. So it was just amazing. I created reels. I created a whole documentary of me actually starting from the station, walking towards the studio, doing the whole interview, and afterwards how I felt. I did it all, the whole shebang, and it's on my YouTube channel as well, the Aridja Kals Show. And it was amazing. And then obviously I got another call to come in to be interviewed by Eddie Nestor as well. So
yeah, no, that's really good. And I think it links to what we were talking about before about going out, trying things. There are probably people that may have seen it, and like we said, they were just like, they don't want to whatever they were sort of uploading to sort of submit. They were just like, I'll just upload an episode of my podcast, or I won't try something new. I won't sort of market it in a different way to upload it. But yeah, I think it's kind of like what you said. It's whether you're sort of a podcaster or you're doing any sort of content creation, and as a whole, it's about being open to trying new things and doing things differently. So like what you're saying, I know for me, for some for a funding application that I did last year, like we said, I literally just recorded myself at home, just talking about pick up the mic. So I was just in front of a camera for 2 minutes. I just spoke about pick up the mic, had some captions, had some pop-ups on the screen, nothing really interesting. Then this year, when it came about sort of applying again, I was like, okay, you know what? I've got more time, and I've got I've got a team of people that help me to film and help me to create stuff. So I was like, let me try it. And yeah, I'll make sure it pops up, or there's a link to it in the description. But this year, like you said, I took it completely different. I felt like I was a proper director and everything, because I was like, okay, cool. It was myself. Shout out to Emmanuel and Jacob. If you're watching, thank you very much. Because they were it was literally on the day, I was like, okay, cool. I've got my lunch break. Let me quickly just I planned out the script. I highlighted. I spoke with Jacobs, was the videographer. So I was like, okay, cool, Jacob. What do you think we should do? Let's plan it out and see. And it was just it was literally just sort of in the spur of the moment. We were just okay, cool. So we should film this bit here, and then we should have a voiceover for this bit. And it was, to me, I'm proud of how much it changed within that year. And like you said, even next year when it comes to applying, I will probably do it completely different to what I've done last year, or this year, sorry. And it's just going the extra effort, and trying new, like you said, trying new things, because there's that tendency, I think, especially when you're like creating content, to, like you said, just sort of like, okay, I've done it, now I'm just gonna like stick with what I've done. But then you sort of won't like want to try new things or like be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you do. Not even like for, you have to be better than your competition. You have to try, like, no, I think even like for a personal development thing. So yeah, even like I said, it's been 2 years or over 2 years of pick up the mic, and like it's different to how it started. Like, we've got new segments, we've added podcasts, we've become a podcast network.
That's amazing. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's literally like we said, like it's just about like trying new things, and I'm happy with where we are now. Like, I think to me, the worst thing I would have liked is if come 2020, come this year, sorry, to our birthday, like I would have just hated if it was just like, actually, you know what, like we haven't really
done
we
much.
haven't done much, we haven't even done anything. But like we've held networking events, we've done live podcasts, we've done like on the spot podcasts, and it's just been, to me, I've just loved it because it's been really good to test my limits and like try new things. But yeah, I really like that. And yeah, I'd say for anyone watching, that's one of the most important things to do. But yeah, I think we need to talk about, we sort of got into like trying new things, and sort of like, working with organizations. But let's talk about accolades and awards, because
that's a bit of me.
I've got and if you haven't checked out all the wonderful things, well, you've heard it now, so you know where to check out the podcast. But yeah, you have won Remwell London's, and again, if I get it wrong, like, please do correct me. And please, audience, don't hate me for this. But Remwell London's the mainstream UK ones to watch for 2023 in the Best YouTube Personality category award.
Yeah.
I want to ask two things for this. One, was this something that you applied for, or something that someone nominated you for? So like, did you even know that you were going for this? And two, how did it feel to like sort of get that? Because yeah, being told this, you're one of the people to watch in the best, especially in YouTube, when like, there are thousands, like, well, it's probably thousands is an understatement. Like, there's millions of like content creators, let alone ones in the UK, and to be told that, yeah, you're one of the best personality ones to sort of keep an eye out for this year is incredible. So
that sounds amazing. You just saying that.
No, honestly, like, it's something you should definitely be proud of.
Yeah, I am.
So yeah, I guess first off,
how it came about. So my sister-in-law, shout out to you. So she essentially showed me the post that was on. Should I continue? So yeah, she essentially showed me the post that the Mainstream UK posted. A shout out to Remwell London as well. Thank you so much. She's amazing. She's a presenter. So yeah, and then I saw it. She was like, Aridja, like, do this, sort of thing. And it was a thing where you had to get people to at their favorite YouTube personalities or podcasters or poets or actors or actresses, like at them, so that they can see that, okay, these are the people that are going to be in the category to possibly win. So I went on a spree where it's like, my sister was like, Aridja, why don't you get people to at you? And so I put it on my story, and she was like, no, message them individually. So I went all on my Instagram, literally all my friends and all my networks, all my acquaintances and all my family. I was like, listen, guys, at me on this post, at me on Best Podcaster and Best YouTube Personality. I went on my WhatsApp. I did the same thing. At me, guys, at me, like personal messages, and catered it to the actual person. So it's not like a generic forwarded message, because I hate those. And then everyone just literally, there was just a whirlwind of people that were atting me, and it was so overwhelming. It was literally like almost like 100 people, and yeah, it was just amazing. And then they sort of caught eye on that, Remwell London and her team and all the lovely judges. And they obviously went on my page, watched my stuff, and then they made a decision. And and then they just awarded me as one of the 4 ones to watch for 2023 in the category of Best YouTube Personality. And when to answer the second question, when I got that award, I was just over the moon. I was like, I did the whole a video thanking everyone and stuff, as if I won the Grammys. That's gonna come one day too, if that's possible for podcasters, or hosting it. But anyway, so literally, like, I was over the moon. Like, I was emotional in a good way. that I was just so happy and elated. Like, it's just a little thing. Like, you know, Remo London is massive, like, in the industry. And for her to recognize your talent and to say that you are ones to watch for 2023, showing that, you know, I believe that you can do big things, it's just immense. Like, it's so humbling. I'm just so grateful. And for me, I take it like as a really massive thing. And yeah, thanks for mentioning it. But yeah, that happened.
No. It's like I said, and like, no, honestly, man, props to you, because it is like I said, like, it's something to definitely be proud of. It's something that I think as well, like, there was a content, I think her name's Bria Jones, but she did like a video sort of talking about like how she grew her page and stuff from like, I think it was 10,000 to 100,000 followers and like a subscriber, sorry, on YouTube in a year. And she was saying,
wait, how many?
So she went from 10,000 to 100,000
in a year.
In a year.
Who's that?
Her name's Bria Jones. She does a lot of like videos on like content creation.
I think I know her.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend, even if you're not a content creator, to just watch that video, because I think one of the things that I really liked from what she was saying is she said it was all about like mindset. So like what you were saying about and like we discussed in our previous episode, that it's not about, like, yes, the numbers are good, like having a big, like, people listening to the episode every week and stuff like that is really good. But when you get caught up on like how many subscribers or like how many views you get, you then sort of like lose the message that you're trying to do. So like for us, I've always said, like, I go for the one. There's one person that needs to hear about, like today, the power of passion and persistence. There's one person that needs to hear about, you know, becoming an entrepreneur. There's one person that needs to know about like dealing with mental health at university. And if more than one person like interacts with it, or more than one person's impacted by it, then great. But like we said, I think that's that. And sort of, the reason why I mentioned that is because, like we said with awards, it's nice to see that when others sort of get that too, they're just like, oh yeah, no, like what this person's doing is really impactful. Like, it's really like changing the game, or like impacting people, or it's giving people like a platform to speak about things. Because I think especially not even like just as a young person, but I think in general, like if you have a business or a startup or a podcast or whatever, it's sometimes hard to sort of feel always motivated to do stuff, because you'll see like, okay, there's someone who's got a bigger audience and they may do like one episode on something that your whole, let's say, podcast is about. And then you'll be like, wow, man, like this person's got like so many views. And it's just like, if I had those opportunities, it'd be great. But it's all about like not comparing yourself, and just being like, okay, you know, as long as I keep working and I keep following, you know, I have a mission that I'm trying to achieve, and I'm still passionate about that. I think that's the most important thing. And it's like sticking to that and being, keeping an eye on it and sort of believing that. Yeah,
I definitely agree. Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
When it does come to mindset, you know, and sticking to that vision, it's clear. It's very important to have a clear vision, I believe. And I think that's what's helped me throughout. Because at first, you know, when I started my whole content creation journey, I started, to be honest, I'm a journalism graduate. So, and I've always been into drama at school. So, you know, I've always been into performing of some sort. But when I sort of made the decision that this time I'm going to stay consistent and make it, I sort of didn't have a niche at first, but I just knew that I wanted to make it big in the presenting realm, maybe even TV as well. But then later on, I sort of had the idea of doing a podcast. And my point is, like, it's so important to have a clear vision. Then you will actually get to it. So I'll give an analogy, right? So let's say you have a sat nav in your car, right? And you put the destination to go to Paris. If you put the destination directly to go to, like, I don't know, a specific place in Paris, you'll get to that specific place. But if you're vague and you just say France, you're not really going to get there, are you? You're just going to go around in circles. So that's the same as in life. It's important to have a clear vision so that you can work towards it and attract the right things and circumstances and people and opportunities so that it can get you there. And one other thing I would say is like visualization is very, very powerful, and it's not an understatement. It really is. And I think that's helped me to get to where I am, because I'm always visualizing myself, like, I don't know, on a couch being interviewed by Oprah or Jay Shetty, or being on, you know, and it's going to happen eventually. And I feel like this, me being here as well, is also like a manifestation of that, because it's just like showing that I'm on that journey, you know, starting off here, then there, then I'll be on Jay Shetty, then I'll be on Oprah. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just evidence that it's all coming into fruition. Because I'm a big believer in mindset and even like manifestation as well. And obviously prayer and meditation. And that's another thing, meditation as well. Like for me, at first when I started my podcast, I was very much a perfectionist and very much in my head a bit. And then I'll feel the physical manifestations of having headaches and I don't normally get headaches. And then I started meditating literally just for 5 minutes a day. And in that 5 minutes, I only focused like 1 minute. But I'm telling you, the drastic difference that it's created, now I can genuinely say that I'm enjoying the journey when I'm conversing with people, you know, when I'm presenting, when I'm hosting, it's much more easier and seamless. So I think that's important. There's just so many things that you can dibble and dabble into that will sort of help with your mindset. Because I think mindset is key. If you don't have the right mindset, trust me, you'll probably earn some money or you'll get kind of where you want to get to, but you're not going to have the full force of what you want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Because I think that's the most like mindset is the most important thing. And even like, I didn't even mention it, but in the video that Bria Jones did, she was saying like, so to her, she was like, okay, to be a YouTuber with 100,000 followers, what does that look like? Because she was saying the goal shouldn't necessarily be, I have to have like 100,000 followers within the next year. And if I don't reach that, then I'm sort of like some failure or anything like that. She was saying instead it should be, okay, well, I want to be a YouTuber with 100,000 followers. So what does that person look like? How do they dress? How do they interact with people? How do they reply to messages? Like what you were saying before about like, do they just have a generic response or do they actually target messages to their audience or to guest speakers? Do they look for opportunities to like uplift others or are they just sort of like promoting themselves? Are they, you know,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like all this.
Yeah. Like it really made me think because I was just like, wow, you know, that is kind of true. Like I never really thought about it like that. I was never just like, okay, cool. So what is this? But even she was saying like, this person, and yeah, shout out to Andrew if you're watching. He sort of like helped with the podcast a lot. He was saying like when you're going to meetings to talk about like collaborations or working with different organizations and things like that, especially if they're a lot bigger than you, he was saying like don't feel like you have to walk in as like you know, someone like you do have to walk in as yourself. Which sounds confusing, but what I mean by it is you don't have to like walk in as so like if I go to a meeting, you just like don't go as Jeffrey, master student, or Jeffrey, you know, pick up the mic is his hobby. He said, no, go into the room as Jeffrey, pick up the mic CEO. So what does that look like? Does that, you know, how does he dress? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he interact with people? How will he like do things in the meetings? Is he just going to let people, you know, suggest things and be like, oh, well, actually, we want you to do this, and this. And he's going to be like, okay, well, if you're going to give us this, we can do this. Or is he going to bargain? Is he going to be like, well, actually, no, you know, thanks for sort of coming back and speaking to me about this. But actually, I think what we need to do to grow are these things. And I feel like that's the most powerful thing because it's just like, actually, no, my whole mindset can now be about actually targeting. Like I can now know that, you know, if I go into a meeting or if I do events or whatever, I can go as these different people. And it's just like, you've got that in you to be those different people. So like whether you've got like a side hustle or you, I don't know, like you're leading a business already, you've got staff already, you've got like those businesses, you've got those like mindset, or you've got the ability to have that mindset to have those conversations. Because I feel like, especially for me, when I was going for those meetings, I was like conscious. I was like, well, I don't want to come off like an arrogant CEO and be like, well, you know, you either do what I say or I'm walking out the room. But I was just like, I also don't want to come in as like a pushover and be like, okay, well, you know, we desperately need your help. Let's do that.
I feel like that stems on like knowing your value as well. And obviously I always say mindset, always the foundation of it, the fundamentals is always like self-love. So if you truly, you know, learn to love yourself, what you like, what you dislike, you'll value yourself more and therefore you'll present yourself in a certain way. And also kind of like to do with what you're saying, I feel like to sum it up in a nutshell, it's basically the law of assumption. I don't know if you've heard of that by Neville Goddard, who's a great teacher that was alive in the 1940s, I believe. And yeah, he just spoke about assuming that what you want is already yours as if it's already here.
Mm.
Do you get it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know how there's a TikTok trend going on, like be delusional
Yeah.
and all that jazz, but it's not just hearsay. It's not just blah de da. Like it's really true. Like, what's that rapper's name? The one that sings Doja Cat.
Oh,
How can
that
song?
yeah.
I forgot his name now. Central C.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
So Central C was on Chicken Shop Date with Amelia. I forgot her last name, but she's amazing as well. They're both amazing. And he said to her that literally before I became a world-renowned rapper, well, alongside these words, but I was delusional. I believed that I was this world-renowned rapper who was very successful, who had hits and stuff before I was even that. So it gets to the point, even Kanye thinks he's God. Like, come on, like, do you know what I mean? Like, these people believe it in themselves to the point where they think, like, they make it so real in their minds that they become it before it actually happens. And that's the law of assumption. You need to assume that you're already where you are now. And then everything else will come into fruition. You'll sort of become like one with that frequency, because I believe that nothing is created or destroyed in this universe, in this world. So it's a thing where what you want is there. It's just align yourself with it. And to align yourself, for me, I believe in gratitude, feeling grateful for what you have. I'm not saying settle for what you have, but feel grateful for what you have, feel happy and content, show love, show all these beautiful emotions, joy, just express joy, smile at a stranger. Like, I don't know, like, okay, maybe that's a bit, but you know what I mean? Like, smile. Do you know what I mean? Like, uplift yourself to that frequency, because that's where what you want is. Because essentially, what you're saying is, if I get these things, then I'll be happy. So why don't you feel happy now, and you will attract those things because it will make you happy. It's on the same frequency as happiness. Do you get it? Yeah. So assume where you want to be now. The law of assumption, basically. So that's what I live by.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that's true, because I feel like with like, or even like a personal level, it's like what you said, like one thing that I've, well, like, I don't know, like it's like what you're saying about, like, even like smiling at people, doing all these small things, or being grateful. Like, I think for me, one of the key examples of this is so for my undergraduate, I did a placement, and for the interview, it's one of those things where to you as an individual, to me, it was like an everyday. To my manager, completely different story. So she was saying, I think I was running late because there were issues on transport. So I was like, called out my manager and said, oh, just want to let you know I'm still on my way. I'm just running a bit late. Or I called up the person interviewing me, and then she was like, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. And then I got there. Now to her, she said she had done a lot of interviews that day. It had been a lot of work. All of the candidates she wasn't really interested in. She saw my name. She was just like, oh, great. It's just going to be another boring interview. I'm going to have to like struggle to pick like who's going to work with me for the following year. And she said, like, when she saw me, I got up and I smiled. Now, people say I smile a lot of the time. I'm just
quite a smiley person.
Yeah, I'm just a smiley. I'm just like smiling. But to her, she was just like, no. As soon as you smiled and you shook my hand and you were like very relaxed, you were very calm, you're sort of like very open. She was just like, I knew like he like, I'm hiring him. She was just like, even before I did the presentation, answered any of the questions, she was just like, I knew. To me, I was just doing the interview. I was just like, I'm here. I came, I did the interview. And then it was just like one of those things where it wasn't even, because I think that was probably, of all the jobs I've ever applied for, and done interviews for, that was the shortest time I ever heard back, because it was like literally on the journey home. So yeah, I wasn't even home yet. And I just got a phone call and she was just like, oh, hi. It's just me. And I was like, oh, hello. She was just like, I just wanted to let you know you got the job. And I was like, oh, wow. Thank you. And she was like, oh, no, you're a really good candidate. And I was just like, wow. And then it was only afterwards when I was working for her, and she was, I was talking to her about like, oh, we're doing interviews for the next person. Like, I've never done interviews before. Like, what should I be looking for? And like, she always said, like, just go with your gut. So, like we said, like, if you're comfortable and you feel fine, like smiling to people or like going up to people and like talking to them, go for it. I think I mentioned it previously on the podcast anyways, but like one of the things that to get comfortable like talking to people, and I think that's what's also helped really a lot with the podcast, is like if I go to a party or if I go to an event and I don't know anyone, or I go to a party and like my friends are maybe coming a bit late or running a bit late, like it's not like a requirement, like, oh, I have to talk to one person before I leave this event. It's more of like like let's get out of our comfort zone a bit. Let's go over and like just talk to someone. And I think like stuff like that is really good, because like we said, it's sort of, you build up that confidence, and it's I think one last thing before we end it is I think it's really powerful because you're sort of like helping someone else. And it's especially like when you're just having a conversation, like you see someone, let's say like, for example, at a party or an event, and they're sort of like just chilling by themselves, they're not really talking to anyone. I think it's really nice because it's like, oh, you are now like that. Like it's nice to the person because they'll feel like, oh, you came over, you spoke to me. Like I'm not even saying like, because I know like some people be like, oh, but you know, if it's a guy goes over to a girl, he's trying to move to her, and it's just like, no, like sometimes it's just like just having a conversation, like, oh, how you found the event, like, oh, do you know the person who's hosting the party, oh, and I think even like the smallest things. So yeah, one, like I said, I love talking, but one last thing before I end it is so I know like for example with when I was doing campaigning on campus to sort of like go for one of the positions there, um there was this guy who was wearing this t-shirt of a game that I liked, and I was just like, okay, cool, let me just go over to him, tell him that I like his top, and then just see how it goes. Like, because I was just like, as a student, as I'm sure other students are aware, like when it comes to union elections, it can sometimes be a lot because you'll just be sort of like trying to walk somewhere, and someone will be like, bam, like, do you want to, oh, have you voted yet? Oh, you should vote. And it's just like, it can be a lot. So for me, I was just like, no, I just want to go. Like, if someone wants to vote, I'll speak to them. If they want to know more about my campaign and what I'm doing, I will give them my manifesto. I will talk to them about my manifesto. But I was like, at the end of the day, if they want to vote, they want to vote. So I got there and I went over to the guy and I was like, hey, I just want to say, man, I really like your top. I'm a fan of the game too. And then we just spoke for the game for a bit. And I was like, hey, look, if you've got time, I'd really appreciate it if you could vote for me. If not, it's cool. And he was like, yeah, man, like definitely, like, thank you so much. And it's just like that. It's just like basic human interaction, or like just being nice, and not necessarily for like, oh, like I'm being nice to get something out of it, or oh, I'm doing this because this person's going to help me, but just doing it for doing, like, to be a nice person,
being genuine and authentic with it.
Yeah, it's just the most important thing. But yeah, I think we're going to go on to the last question before we go to passing the mic.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to talk more, I'm happy to talk more as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, I guess what's next for you? And again, I will be running to just make sure the camera's still working. But yeah, what is next for you? So yeah, you've spoken about a lot, but it would be great to know what are the future plans? What we got coming on?
The future plans, similar to what we spoke about when it came to getting out of your comfort zone. One thing about me is when it comes to interviewing people and conversing with people, that's like seamless. But when it comes to events hosting, then that's just a bit out of my comfort zone. So I'm trying to get myself out of my comfort zone because my motto for this year is I want to be comfortable in discomfort, if that makes sense. So just hosting more shows, award shows, hopefully, maybe festivals where I, interview celebrities backstage, just continue on with the podcast. My aim is to reach 100 episodes, maybe not this year, however long that's going to take, but 100 episodes because I release one episode every week. What else? Modeling, maybe get into a bit of modeling, commercial modeling. Why not? I would love to interview. There's a few celebrities that I would love just to interview because I'm just like big fans of them. So if I can get that rolling. What else? My story. TEDx, speaking on the TEDx stage. That's my aim, like TEDx Cambridge or something like that in London, because I've got a magnificent story, which is quite dramatic, but it's very relevant and it's very inspirational. And just honing into my craft and just monetizing what I do, monetizing my skills, maybe creating an ebook, starting off to write a book, I don't know. I just got so much that I want to do and I will do because I'm an action taker. And yeah, just everything, just communication is my key thing. Yeah,
no, that's really powerful. And I think, like you said, it's about trying, like I said, getting out of your comfort zone. And I think that's where you grow the most. I mentioned on the podcast, like we as a team really like it because we get to learn about like so many different, like we get to meet and learn about so many different people and career choices and universities and like different countries. Like it's a nice way to learn about things that if I didn't do it, like I wouldn't know. So like we interviewed people in America. We've interviewed people like, it's been good. And it's just nice to like get out of your comfort zone and to meet these like I said, to learn about different careers that I knew nothing about or I don't know a lot about. So to me, I've really enjoyed that, and I think, like you said, it's a really powerful thing to have. So yeah, thank you. But yeah, I guess we've come to passing the mic.
Okay.
And also, I've realized, we will figure out a way with the recording because unfortunately the camera did cut out for the last bit, but we'll figure it out. Don't worry. Don't
Which
worry.
bit?
I don't know when. I will review it and we will figure. I will use my.
You know what you can do? You can keep the audio playing,
Okay.
but then just put your logo.
Exactly.
You get it while the audio is playing, and just say a sorry or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it will be back shortly or something.
See, look,
because
learning things.
because like I think this conversation is so valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I honestly, I've really enjoyed it. It's been great to learn more. No, like I said, I love the podcast because we get to meet like all these amazing people, and I think kind of like what you said, it's nice. I think that's one of the reasons why I even wanted to have you on the podcast was because it's nice because I think one of the things that we say at Pick on the Mic is it's great to be able to interview like, I don't know, like a big celebrity, but it's also nice to like talk about or talk with people who are doing things in their community or like even on like a smaller scale compared to a celebrity, but they're still doing almost the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And to me, I just love that because it's like, okay, cool. So there's, I don't know, like this big celebrity who does podcasts or whatever. But then it's just like, oh, I get to learn about someone who is, you know, doing the exact same thing, having the exact same impact, and I get to learn with them. Like you said, TEDx. If you're hearing it now, like TEDx, like I've done the nominations. I'm on your waiting list. So, but yeah, like you said, like that's definitely one of the things I want to get into more is like doing public speaking and talks because I love that. It's so good. I love it. Good.
A lot of people are scared of it. Apparently, that's like the third biggest fear of people in the Western world or something like that. There's a statistic, but I absolutely thrive in public speaking. I don't know. I'm just born to do it.
No, it's honestly like it's so fun. And I think for me, especially like, so I did drama, GCSE and A levels. And I think for me, like that, even though I'm not doing drama now, like I've mentioned it before, that to me, it was really great to get that skill of like public speaking and like talking to people in front of a big stage and doing things. It's just like nice to get out, like to get those skills, because like you said, like even now, like the event I was talking about where I did the talk, like that was on the spot. So most of the stuff for that thing wasn't planned. And I told them like, hey, look, so I'm probably going to ramble because I don't really have a plan. Like I have an area I'm going to be talking about, but I said, if you want to ask any questions, just ask throughout because I will just keep talking. And it was really good. A lot of people learned stuff. They learned about equipment they can use for content creation, especially if they're on a budget. They learned about like how there are cheaper ways you can do things. And yeah, I think for me, it was just really nice. And I've said like, I spoke to the people who were hosting the event and I was like, hey, look, if you ever want me to do another one, like I will do it. I've spoken to my lecturers and been like, oh, hey, I'm happy to come and speak to some of the students and sort of talk about it. And yeah, I think that's my new thing is I'm, like you said, like, I want to get into more public speaking. It's nice. I think it's nice also, like we said, like to share your story and to sort of show people, because I think especially when I was growing up, it's almost like there's that big divide of like, oh, so either someone like, I don't know, was famous through like maybe like reality TV or like they had like a singing career and it popped off and things like that. Or it was just like, this person's like super successful. And I think like we love to say on the podcast is sometimes you don't always get to see like that in between bit of like, oh, this person was actually like, you know, working hard for the longest time or like didn't have any, like a huge viewership for a long period of time. And then it was only because like, I don't know, the right person saw it that it sort of popped off. And yeah, I think it's just that. It's like really nice to have those conversations. But yeah, well, we're gonna go over to passing the mic. Okay. So yeah, so I'm gonna well, obviously I'm not literally passing the mic, but do you have any questions that you'd like to ask me or?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is just what you're doing is absolutely commendable. Oh, thank you. I think it's amazing how you're juggling. You know, obviously doing your masters, being a university student. And also doing this, and you know, chasing your dreams. And it seems like you've got a lot of plans for the future. So honestly, it's very commendable.
Thank you.
One thing I would ask you is, and don't say realistically because I hate that word. I don't believe that. I'm a dreamer. I'm not a realist.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself this time? Well, in December 31st, 2023, the very end of the year, where do you see yourself personally and also the podcast? Where do you see it going?
That's a good question. So yeah, I'll go with the podcast first because I think that one will be surprisingly easier. I think with the podcast, so I see Pick Up the Mic building up on its network of podcasts. So we've recently expanded the team. We sort of added like we added some people who've hosted podcasts under the team to officially join the team. We've added some advisors, sort of growing. So I think for me, one of the key things is definitely the team may grow a bit more, but just to sort of like have the team and then leave it like that. So to say that, okay, we've got all these different podcasts, they're under different segments, and then like be like, okay, cool. I don't need to be there, or I don't need to necessarily watch your podcast like being recorded. If you want me to edit it, I can do that. I've edited podcasts, I'll edit it for you, but like I trust you to just do it. So to give people more control over the podcast and to have them sort of like do it like that. Next thing is definitely doing events. I know for like last year we tried, I know when we started, obviously we were doing it during lockdown, so we made events just a small bit too hard. But then also I think because last year, or within the last year, there was a lot of like changes in everyone in the team. So some people moved to new jobs, some people moved to different like places in the UK. It made things sort of like harder to sort of plan things out. So I think definitely going into more events. Like I mentioned, we did a women's networking event, and that was really nice because it was great to see the conversations. And again, that was something that I just organized it, but I didn't host it because one, I'm not a woman. So I felt like it would be a bit wrong if I was just like, oh, hey, let's have a women's networking event, but I'm going to be the one hosting it. But it was really nice because I think it was just nice to hear the conversations and to see people be like, oh, wow, these people are actually impactful. Like they're doing like a wide variety. And I think for me as well, like what I was saying before, like all of the guest speakers and hosts at the event are doing different things. Like one of them is going to be a doctor. One of them started a company that looks at smells in virtual reality. Another's going to be a lawyer. Another works in, and I pray I get this right. I'm pretty sure she works in like finance. And like the host, she works at the at Brunel, but she does a lot at Brunel. So she's like she's been the EU officer. She's involved in a lot of society stuff. She's involved in a lot of sports club stuff. And I think to me, it was nice to show students that you don't like, you can do anything. Like you can have a wide variety, and all of them have their own like individual backstories. So some of them, so like the person who started up her own company, her and her partner sort of did it as a whim. She was going to go into research. She did biomed. She was going to go into do it she was going to go into research, but then she was just like, oh, actually, like, she literally one of those things, a question just popped into her head, and she was like, oh, why doesn't smells and virtual reality exist? And then her and her partner like looked into it. They saw that actually, it's not something that's really done within like the like within the Western world. And she was just like, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. And she did. She started a company. She's been successful with it. So yeah, I think for me, doing more events. We did announce, and I'm sort of in the stage of planning it, like a Black History Month event as well. So to do another networking event for that. But I think from the discussions that we sort of had at the previous one for the women's networking one, to continue those, to do more of those probably on more of a regular basis. So maybe not every month, or maybe every 2 months, or like 4 times in a year, but especially some more socials as well, so people can sort of like just relax and network with people. And then, yeah, I think the last thing would be to build up our consultation service. So, or like to build up the services that Pick Up the Mic's doing. So, yeah, as I mentioned, we're doing consultation services, and like we've done a few meetings for that as well. And that's been really good because I think for me, it's been nice to know that the advice that whether it's from people I've watched on YouTube, whether it's people I've spoken to,
whether it's just your practice and your experience.
Yeah, it's been really good to see that that's been beneficial to others. And I think, because for now, like I've said, that I've made it free. On the main reason being that while it would be great to monetize, I don't want to be like, okay, cool, charge me, I'm going to charge you like £30 for 4 sessions. And then it's just like, well, actually, turns out what I've told you is complete rubbish and it's not working. Or it turns out actually you don't even want to do a podcast anymore because you've done 2 episodes and it turns out you're not really invested in it. So I said, it's actually better that I say, okay, look, we'll do it for free. And then maybe if after like we've done a few sessions, you feel like actually, the advice has really helped, we can maybe look into like some sort of payment plan. But I think for me, it was just like, it just felt wrong to be like, yeah, give me like 30, like I said, I've never done podcast consultation before, so, or consultation in anything. So I think to sort of then be like, oh no, you need to give me like money, just sort of felt wrong, and it didn't sit with me well. So yeah, I'd say those are the 3 things. On a personal level, I think yeah, yeah, these guys know I like doing things in threes. So I think first off would be going out and doing more things. So I actually spoke to a friend about this, that one of the things that I think sort of partly because of COVID, but I think also with like everything going on in the world, it's sort of like I've pushed aside like opportunities to like go do things, because you'll be like, well, I could go and do it, but like, oh, I don't have anyone to go with me, or like, oh, like it's kind of far, or oh, it's an early start. So you'll sort of like put it off and not go. But some of those things are really impactful and some of those are really powerful. And it's not even like stuff, oh, it's going to help me with the podcast, or oh, it's going to be really good. Like some of it is just like a really nice opportunity. So whether that's like through my work or through like personal stuff or like events that I just see like or get emailed about, like I want to go to more of those and to try them out. To just keep going to those. But yeah, I think it sounds a bit cheesy, but I think it's true. Spending more time with like family and friends. I think, like I said, like with like these guys know I have a podcast team, but because of like the busyness of life, like we haven't been able to meet up and do a lot of recordings together. So I think I want to try and spend the next year, like by the end of this year, meet up with my friends a lot more, like do stuff with them as well, spend more time with my family as well. But yeah, I think that's the second thing. And then I think lastly, which is probably something that I need to work on more, is spending more time like looking after myself, because I think for me, I am very creative, so I wouldn't say this person like inspired me, but like I think it was on Instagram. Maybe I saw it, but I saw it somewhere that like Freddie Mercury from the band Queen, he had like a notebook by his pillow, because if he would sometimes have dreams and like literally the song would come into his head, or like how he could do stuff would come into his head. And sometimes I feel like I'm the exact same. That sometimes I'm not saying like it's rarely dreams, but like sometimes like even in like work,
thought will pop in your head.
like, and to me. Yeah, and it's just sometimes it's just like the randomest thing. So sometimes I'll be meeting someone will just be talking about something, and then they'll mention something, and I'll be like, actually, you know what? I could do a podcast on this, or I could do an episode on this, or oh, actually, this person, someone would be really great to talk to. Even like the video that should hopefully have appeared. Like that video of like how we could like plan it out. I was just like, okay, cool. So I wrote out the script and I was like, cool. So this is what I'm gonna say. And I was just like, what could I do about it? I was like, you know what, let me just leave it for a bit. And then it was only like when I was speaking to the person about it, I was like, well, actually, you know what? Let's do this and this. So yeah, sometimes I'm like rapid fire. So I think having those times where it's just like, actually, you know what? Just like take a step back, just relax, like just like don't think about the podcast, or like just just take a break from it, because like you said, like it is. Like I really enjoy it, but I know sometimes it is a lot of work. They're like over the Christmas,
definitely,
honestly, and it's just like, and the thing is, like especially because like I'm editing it, I'm recording it, I'm booking the spaces, I'm making sure like all the equipment's working. Like when we're doing stuff at Brunel, I'm making sure like we've got the space. If we're doing things online, you're trying to make sure that everyone's internet connection's good. It's just sort of like, and it's just like, actually, you know what? I could really do like a nice relaxation. So I think having those breaks from pick up the mic, and like it doesn't need to be like a long thing. Like even if it's just like for now, it's just like, okay, you know what? Like once a week, I'm just gonna take like a break and not do like any pick up the mic stuff or any of the other things that I help support. Like I'm just gonna do pick up them. I'm just gonna relax, just gonna chill, like chat to friends, chat with family, and not stress about it. But yeah, I'd say those are the three things, both on a personal and a sort of podcast level, that that I do. That
sounds really promising.
Oh, thank you. I'm just gonna quickly check the camera again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It might still be doing it. It popped up, but the red light was there, so it might still be working. But yeah, now we're gonna go on to the MC of the month section. The MC of the month, this one's been a bit tough. Mainly because I know like usually, like this episode, I guess it went different to how I expected it to. Because I thought we talk a lot about podcasting, but I really like that we sort of talked about like following your passion and persistence and sort of like looking for opportunities and growth and things like that. And I think it would be really great to talk about this couple that actually, interestingly enough, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be on the podcast. And they are Haley and Sterling Record. So if you don't know about them, we'll include like a link to their the link to their social media will pop up, and we'll also talk about them a bit more on our website under the MC of the Month section. But yeah, Haley and Sterling Record, they both do incredible work. So Haley's like an international speaker. She's spoken in like companies. She's recently she traveled to Dubai to speak at a women's conference there. She's like, yeah, she does a lot. And Sterling as well, like he's worked with loads of businesses, he's done a lot of things. But I think the reason why I want to talk about them is because I met them at an event. The Gen Z Club, if you don't know about them, definitely
I've heard of them on Instagram.
Yeah, they're a really great organization. But yeah, they did a it was a dating event about like how Gen Zs can date in the current world and like how that sort of looks like. Yeah, which was really interesting because so like they were showing like interviews of people that they did before, and it was just like, okay, you know, as a young person, how do you feel about the dating scene? And they were just like, oh, you know, it's a lot of like, oh, using like apps, or like, oh, it's just literally just you know, people just want to sleep around, they're not really invested in real relationships, I don't know how to like filter through. I think what was really nice is Haley and Sterling, they're both Christian, but they're both sort of, so they were friends first before they dated, and she was dating someone before they sort of like got engaged, got married, and got together, I guess. But they were speaking at the event, and I think what was really interesting for me was just sort of learning about their journey, even like their they're sort of like how getting to that where they are sort of professionally was really great. And they've got a podcast. It's called A New Record. Again, I think we mentioned it in the previous episode, but we're going to shout them out again because it's a really great podcast. But they sort of talk about like their marriage journey and like balancing. Like both of them have like a busy schedule, so balancing that and sort of dealing with all the things of life. But I think what I really like about them is I asked Haley like, okay, same question I did sort of like Cece's mum. It's like, okay, so how do you sort of like, you know, whether it's family or friends, you know, and they're sort of like, oh, they don't get your idea or they don't believe in it or something like that. I was just like, how do you sort of like overcome that? Because I was like, it can be a bit like I know of friends who sort of been like, oh, you know, my passion is music production or my passion is like acting or dancing, and they're just told like by the parents, oh, well, actually, you know, it's not really a career, it's more of like a passion. Or like, oh, why don't you get like an engineering degree and then you can go and be an actor later. But she was just like, oh no, the thing you need to do is again consistency. And she said like it's all about being consistent. So she said like she like when she was like from a young age, she's done like loads of stuff. So she was like she's been doing campaigns, she's been you know, speaking at schools and building up from that and just being consistent with her work. And she said like that's been really great to sort of like see things grow. And yeah, it's the same with Sterling. And I feel like, yeah, even though, like I said, I originally was thinking maybe it would be more like a podcast that we'd be talking about. I mean, they've got a podcast, so I guess it still sort of fits. But yeah, they're Auntie of the Month because they do like incredible discussions. They talk about like their journey, so sort of their marriage journey, dealing with sort of the fact that they both had like daddy issues with the fact that Haley's dad passed away when she was quite young. Sterling's dad wasn't around when he was young. So sort of talking about how that impacted them. And I think for me, it's really interesting to learn more about them and like their story, because there are some things in their story that I can't relate to. So like the daddy issues, my dad my dad's still alive and he's always been a part of my life. But it's about learning about like sort of like they're saying about like, especially at the event, like about relationships and things like that, and sort of like dealing with you know, trying to start a business or things like that, or friendships. And like,
come to think of it, I think I know who you're on about.
Yeah.
I think, and they're Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one's Jamaican.
Yeah.
And one's Congolese.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually met the guy, the husband, at an event. I just said hi, you know, great podcast that they're doing. And I think it was their church event. So yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and that the podcast is absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and I think for me as well, what I really like is they're like, I guess it's very possible in their position to sort of be like, you know, like, I don't have time for people, or like, oh, if you want to like speak to me, like in a meeting, And then it's one of those things where you're like, you never hear back from them again. But like they are very nice and they're very supportive and they're very like down to earth and chill. Like you can see it in their podcast. You can, if you ever get to meet them, you can see it. And I think for me, that's really nice because also I guess about like following your passion and persistence is sometimes you'll feel like as you sort of like grow and you go into like new meeting rooms and businesses and like you're collaborating with like big organizations, you're like, okay, cool. I have to like change who I am to sort of like market myself better or to like, if I come as like, I don't know, I'm not dressed properly or like I'm not speaking properly, like people will be less interested in investing in you. And I think for them, it's just, no, they're both like who they are on the podcast is who you see off camera, is who you see in their personal interactions with people. And yeah, like the fact that like even that event, like, it was running late. They had a train, like they were going somewhere the next day. So they were literally like had to go, but they stayed like, even though like as soon as the event ended, people were coming up to both of them and were just like, oh yeah, I've got this question. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that. And they were just speaking to them the whole time and just being so nice, so friendly. And yeah, I think that to me is just like, that shows like a genuine person. If they're not like, okay, I don't have time for you. Like, you're taking up too much of my time, or like, oh, like, I'm so sorry, like, we gotta go. We can't speak. But for someone to actually be like, hey, no, like, I want to talk, like, I'll give you like a quick word or like a quick bit of motivation and things like that. So yeah, they're our MC of the month. I definitely recommend their podcast. I'm pretty sure it's called For the Record, but
For the Record, I think it is. I was going to say Off the Record, but no, it's For the Record.
I think it's For the Record. Yeah. But honestly, check it out. They've got a lot of episodes. They're very proud as well of how consistent they've been on it as well. So as you can see, consistency is very key. Not only with podcasting, but with this episode. But yeah, we're going to go on to the takeaway section, which isn't our delivery section. But who knows? Delivery might sponsor us for this section in the future. But yeah, I basically, it's just if someone was just came in, someone just heard or someone's just listened into the last part of the podcast. Aridja, what would you say is like the one? Well, actually, I always say one, but I know some. Like I said, I can never do one. I'm a person of three because it's so much easier. But what would you say are some like key takeaway messages that people should go home with today?
I think, despite obstacles, chase your dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, because we spoke a bit about mindset. We spoke a bit about other people that are sort of chasing their dreams. We spoke about the amazing things that you do and that I do. So I think despite obstacles, despite limiting beliefs, despite of what people say, just go for it. And I know it's really cliche, but life is genuinely too short not to just chase your dreams. Like, I'm sorry, like you're not here forever. So you might as well just align yourself with the calling that you have on your life and just embrace your talents. If you don't know what that talent is, then find out, write it down on paper. What do I like? What do I dislike? What am I good at? What do my friends think I'm good at? What am I not good at? And then just go with it. Try and make that a skill and monetize it and just go for it. So I think it's all about dream chasing, consistency, believing in yourself. It's sort of a motivational one that we've had today. So yeah,
no, but I think it's true. It's like people feel like you can't just like it's not, you can't like make your passion like you said, whether it's monetize your passion or like your passion can't be your career. And it's like, no, like it can and it really can and it will, yeah. And you don't consistent. Exactly. It's just that, and it's just like, just be open to opportunities, to try new things, to grow, to learn more things about yourself or about others, and don't like limit yourself to like one thing. I think it's been nice as a team. Like I said, like we all have different backgrounds, we all have different stories, we all study different things, but we've all liked that we've done the podcast and we can see from our first episode that we've grown, we've become more confident in the way that we sort of talk about things. We're confident, we're like happy to sort of do interviews. We're sort of like, we're happy in the sense of how far the podcast has gone.
Yeah, you should be really proud.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
you've been doing this for 2 years.
Yes, literally.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to be super specific. It's 2 years and and yeah, 1 month. Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Apparently, not a lot of people passed the 2 episode mark, 3 episode mark.
Yeah.
So it just showed this is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And yeah, it's like you said. I think for us as well, like I think especially to start off not on YouTube and to like go into YouTube in our second season and just be like, we'll see how it goes. And see like people watch it, people like it, people enjoy it. It's been really good. And yeah, I think it's been really nice to sort of like try that out. But yeah, we've now come to the end of the episode, believe it or not. And it's been an amazing discussion. I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed learning more about you, your podcast, your journey, talking about consistency and mindsets. It's been a motivational episode, and I'm super excited. Yeah, it's honestly, you always need a bit of motivation. But yeah, we sort of like done it already, but I think, we can do it again. What is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
So you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm an Instagram babe. Like, I love that platform. You might get annoyed because I do post every day, or you might love it. But it's _Aridja Kals _show. To spell Aridja Kals is ARIDJA KALS. So the Aridja Kals show. You can also type that into TikTok, Twitter, I believe. Where else? What's the other one? There's Instagram, TikTok. I think that's it, isn't it?
YouTube. Do you want to, YouTube.
And YouTube and Spotify, the Aridja Kals show. Okay. You don't need the underscore, just the Aridja Kals show. And I'm sure you're going to put it in the description.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
And what else? I'm on LinkedIn, Aridja Kalunga. That's my real name. But I don't really post on LinkedIn that much. But anyway, find me on all those platforms and stuff, even maybe Snapchat. And I hope to connect.
Yeah, no, really good. And I definitely would recommend, you've heard now 2 podcasts in this episode that you should connect with. So yeah, definitely make sure that you check it out. But yeah, thank you very much to you, our wonderful audience, for coming back for another episode of Pick Up the Mic, where we have opened the student guide. And we have looked into a very important topic. If you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe. It's always appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next episode, then just click the notification, which is at the bottom of the video, the notification bell. And finally, if you're interested in receiving some perks, if you're looking at supporting the podcast in any way, shape or form, then please check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description. But yeah, it's been great opening this chapter of the student guide. We're going to have to close it here today. But yeah, keep an eye out for the next episode where we open the student guide again and learn a bit more, not only about ourselves and our guest speaker, but about a new topic. So yeah, that's bye from us here. Hope you have a great day. See you soon.
Peace.